Okay, so on continuing from the question, so let's quickly just go through sort of what was the main things you guys had to note. Okay, now if you look at the differences, there were three items that you had to identify. So it's either a timing difference. Now, a timing difference is something that appears in your cash book receipts or cash book payments, but it is not reflected on your bank statements. Okay, now the timing differences on this question specifically was your outstanding checks, your outstanding deposits, and the sales check. Those were the three timing differences. So the first three items in that table is timing differences, because all of those items have been recorded in one of your cash book journals, but it has not reflected on your bank statement. Okay, so what you have to do is for those three items, you will record it on your bank recon. Okay. Now with a stale check, however, because of the fact that the check has now expired, it would have been on the bank recon every month up to that date. So because it went stale, that amount will then actually be reversed on your cash book payments. Okay, we would actually reverse your cash book payments. Now, because we're not paying that check any longer, it will now come into our cash book receipts as a receipt for a cancellation of a check to net off the payment amount in an earlier amount. So that is the exception when we look at a stale check. Okay. Then the adjusting difference. It will always be an adjusting difference if it appears on the bank statement. So the bank has recorded it, but we have not recorded it in our cash book receipts or cash book payments. Now, those are, for example, interest, bank charges, if a direct deposit is made, if, for example, they've recorded a check, but the check is not necessary. Okay, that's more an error. Okay, so bank charges, interest, whether it's on your current account, overdraft, those are time or adjusting differences. So what I would do is I will take the transaction from my bank statement and then go record it in my cash book receipts or cash book payments to update my accounting records with those transactions. Because they have actually happened, I was just not aware of them, so I haven't recorded them. So now I'm just updating my accounting records to reflect those amounts that have physically taken place. Now on that table, your bank charges, your interest on current account, interest on overdraft, your debit and stop orders, your direct deposits, dishonored checks, those items would all be adjusting differences. And you would then go record those in your cash book receipts and cash book payments. Now with dishonored checks, now a dishonored check is I received it from a debtor, but then they didn't have sufficient funds, so that check did not actually clear. I did not physically receive the funds. So initially I would have recorded it in my cash book receipts journal. But now because of the fact that that check did not clear the bank, I haven't physically received the money, I will then, to take it out of my bank account, I will then put it through in the cash book payments to net off the cash book receipts I have already recorded. Okay, and then we would then net it off to a zero. So that is the exception. So stale checks, dishonored checks, you would then record it in the opposite journal than where you recorded it initially. Then the last one is an error. So that is where either the bank statement or in our accounting records, we had a typo. We accidentally recorded it at the incorrect amount. So sometimes you typed in 67 instead of 76, or you typed in a 1 instead of a 6. It happens. When in practice, when you are busy, you're under pressure, you have a lot of transactions, errors, capture errors do happen. That's why we do these reconciliations, to also pick these up before we close off for month end, so that we don't carry this over. But if we've already closed it off and then do the bank reconciliation, that difference would appear on our recon. In practice, what we normally do is, before we even do the recon, we do the recon to see if there's any capture errors, and we go fix it before we finalize the posting of it. Okay, but because of the fact that they've already given you the information, it's already been recorded, so you will include it on your bank recon. So if it's the bank's error, you put it on the bank recon. If it is our error, so the business error, you go correct it on your cash book receipt, cash book payment, to reflect what the balance should be. Okay, so based on what an error is, all those items where they say the bank overstates, understates, or the business overstates, understates, when you read that, it will always be an error, and depending on who made the error, you would either put it on the bank recon or on the cash book receipts and cash book payments. Okay, do you guys have any questions on this? Is there something I need to explain again before we go on? You can just type in the chat function for me if there's anything based on a timing difference, adjusting difference, or error you would like me to re-clarify for you. If you are happy with the explanations, you can put a smiley so that I know you are fine. If something is troubling you, put a question mark or a unhappy face, and then just indicate which part I need to re-explain. Okay, I see one person is fine. What about the rest of you? Can you just give me an indication if you are happy for me to move on? Okay, great. Okay, so that is what we are covering for today. Do you guys have any questions specifically on what we've covered? I did not want to do too much today because I know it's a lot of information you guys need to do, and we'll discuss your homework just now. Is there anything specifically relating to what we covered today that you have questions on? Okay, so for homework, I want you to go work through example 1.1, which is the steps in the bank reconciliation. Why I want you to work through it is it's going to make a lot more sense for you guys if you just go through it. So you'll see they explain the steps and they show the little tick marks to show you what I've briefly explained in class today. Then on VC Learn, to make sure that you understand these principles better, there are 3 activities I'd like you to do. The one is the advantages of operating a business bank account. So why would it be beneficial for business to use a business bank account? Then banking services. So what type of banking services are there? And then there's the differences between your bank statements and accounting records. So that's where you start doing your reconciling items. I will load, because VC Learn was not available, I will still load the LAC and ICE activity on VC Learn for you guys. Will probably happen either today or tomorrow, and it will be due on the 13th of August. Okay, So the ICE activity would relate specifically to the bank reconciliation. So after next week's class, you should be able to do the activity. But if you want to do pre-reading, you can start doing the activity beforehand as well. Okay, so it's just to give you guys sufficient time. So do you guys have any questions before we finish off today? Okay, if you guys are happy and don't have any questions, you are welcome to leave. I will see you next week. Have a lovely week, guys.